Jungkook watched Wine with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. He approached her silently, clad in a tailored suit that hugged his skin well. His eyes spoke a thousand words, taking in his wife sitting there on the dressing table. Vine swung her legs to and fro ever so gently, hands gripping the surface beside her, and eyes never leaving those dark holes. He stopped before her. She fixed the collar of his shirt before fixing the little details, making sure everything was perfect. Jungkook, are you sure you want to go? She nodded gently, appreciating his concern. He worried a little too much. She told him she wanted to go to office with him, and for sure, at one point he welcomed her warmly. And on the other side, he reminded her that it might get real boring as well. He grazed his knuckles against her cheek, and then he began unbuttoning her shirt with an almost possessive touch. Jungkook, you're mine, Ryan. Don't forget that. He whispered, lips coasting over her ear, sending a delicious shiver down her spine. His fingers traced the lines of her skin, leaving a trail of fire. As he reached for a box of jewelry, he selected a bold necklace, locking it around her neck. Jungkook, this marks you as mine. Vine, caught in his spell, could only manage a breathless response. She loved how he treated her like a princess and claimed her with such authority. Vine, yours, Jungkook. Next, he picked up the dress once she was naked before his eyes. Those fire-filled eyes, which scanned her like one would at something he owns. As he was about to wear her the dress, she stopped him, wrapped her arms around his neck, and pulled him close. Vine, I love you. A smile pulled up on his eyes, easing the intensity behind his eyes to something soft and warm. Jungkook, you mean the world to me, darling. I love you too. The two shared a sweet kiss before Jungkook dressed her up and not only selected heels and jewelry for her, but adorned her in those ornaments. When he put her down the dressing, she held his arm. Wine, that's some long heels. What if I stumble? Jungkook, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Jungkook, you won't. I won't allow it. That one dialogue did more things to her than anything was capable of. He securely wrapped his arm around her waist as the two did their breakfast and then left for the office. Jungkook's office, a realm of power and authority, welcomed them. Wine, in the midst of it all, took a seat, observing him, immersed in his work. Her eyes fixed on her husband as he did his work. Jungkook, his eyes fixed on the screen, spoke without breaking concentration. Jungkook, I need to focus, darling. but those seductive eyes might cause some distractions. She grinned and grabbed her phone and started using it, but in between her eyes still lingered where they wanted to, on him, the man she loved so dearly, the man who spoiled her like the world might end tomorrow. In a rare pause between tasks, Jungkook looked at Wine with a glint of mischief in his eyes. Jungkook, come here, darling. She rose from her seat, curious yet willing to indulge in whatever he had in mind. Jungkook circled the desk, his movements deliberate. Suddenly, he gently lifted her, placing her on the polished surface. Jungkook, you know, you have a way of distracting me. Vine felt a surge of excitement, and she chuckled. Vine, is that a bad thing, boss? Jungkook leaned in, his lips dangerously close to hers. Jungkook, in fact, it's the best kind of distraction. He kissed her passionately, a brief escape from the demands of his world. Vine felt the intensity of his desire, the raw connection that defined their relationship. Jungkook, you're my refuge, Vine. Vine, and you are mine, Jungkook. As they parted, Jungkook's expression shifted, a hint of seriousness returning. Jungkook, I have a meeting with someone. It's crucial. Vine, go, take care of business. I'll be right here when you return. A trace of reluctance in his eyes ran his fingers through her hair. Jungkook, I won't be long. I need you waiting for me. With a final lingering kiss, he left the room, leaving Vine on the desk. A mix of anticipation and contentment filled her. It was a thrill, and he knew it so well. She loved, loved, loved it when he demanded her attention, and gave her that in return when she demanded it as well. As Vine wandered through the expensive corridors, after getting bored in that office, she found herself in an unfamiliar part of the building. She heard someone clearing her throat to gain her attention, and they clearly succeeded in that. Rick, Jungkook's charismatic secretary, happened upon her. Rick, lost, are we? This place can be a maze. His words might came a little weird, but the way he reflected the gentleman's smile told something else. Vine decided to take it as an attempt to humor. Vine offered a friendly smile and admitted, a little. I'm exploring this side for the first time. Rick, ever the opportunist, flashed a charming grin. Rick, well, lucky for you. I'm an expert guide. Let me show you the ropes. He extended her hand out for her to step forward first, like a gentleman. Vine, appreciating the gesture, agreed to the tour. As they strolled through the halls, Rick's easygoing nature made the unexpected encounter enjoyable. Rick, you know, this place is like a fortress, but it has its hidden gems, like secret meeting rooms and the best coffee spot in the building. Wine laughed, finding Rick's company surprisingly pleasant. Wine, I had no idea. It's like a whole world hidden behind these walls. Rick, seizing the moment, leaned against the wall, with a playful glint in his eyes. Rick, speaking of hidden gems, I don't usually run into someone as captivating as you in these hallways. Are you new here? Ryan, trying to keep things light, shrugged and replied, not really. He leaned off the wall, his inner wild thoughts won when he rolled his finger around a strand of her hair. She squinted eyes and took a step back, but he clearly missed the gesture and continued. Rick, you are beautiful. Really, really beautiful. No one has ever captivated me like you did. Would you like to have some coffee? Was he asking her out on a date? Vic found it amusing when Vine closed her eyes. He smiled. He almost leaned in to kiss when he stumbled and fell down with strong pain shooting up his leg. He muffled out a loud scream, groaned, and held his leg. He slowly took in the whole situation when the stars faded from his vision. He had a bullet inside his leg. He was bleeding severely in a building so secure. He was attacked, which meant only one thing. Whoever attacked knew his boss well, or it was his boss himself. The only thought scared him to wits, and it confirmed when his eyes landed on Jungkook, whose silent steps roared with authority as he walked over to Vine and stood in front of her, blocking her view. She turned around, ignoring the sight, as if she knew so well what was going to happen. Vic, sir? Jungkook casually removed the silencer from his gun. Jungkook, you don't get to flirt with my wife, Rick. No one gets to do that. If the one on floor wasn't scared enough, he surely was now. The blood drained off his face as his eyes widened in terror. Rick, I deeply apologize, sir. I had no idea about that. Jungkook, of course you didn't. That's why you live. He tucked his gun back underneath his armor and picked up Wine, who kept her eyes closed, blocking the troubling view. Jungkook, that's why you live. Get it treated before you lose your leg forever. He walked away. Wine wrapped her arms around his neck. Jungkook, you can open your eyes now. He pecked her lips, and so she looked at him. Wine, you didn't have to do that. She snuggled her face in the crook of his neck. He quietly took her to his office. He was no common man. She knew what she was getting into by marrying a man so dangerous. It took her time to adjust to his dark world, but she succeeded to a greater extent. Jungkook kissed her to ease her nerves. The kiss demanded her trust, and she gave it to him without another question. He poured all of his emotions in that kiss, the emotions which screamed she belonged to her, and he was never allowing anyone near her.